High above sea level, in the misty, rugged expanse of the Bukidnon Plateau in the southern Philippines, lives the Talaandig Manobo. For this indigenous community, history is a living, sung experience. Their foundational record is the Ulaging, a multi-volume oral epic. It is a sprawling narrative that chronicles the migrations, divine covenants, and defensive wars of their ancestors under the leadership of their central hero, Agyu. For centuries, Western observers and colonizers systematically dismissed these sprawling oral traditions. To the imperial mind, an archive required ink and paper. When a history was chanted around a fire, administrators categorized it as myth or folklore, a story lacking historical fact. In the early 1900s, this dismissal took a new visual form. American officials like zoologist Dean C. Worcester captured indigenous tribes through a specific anthropological gaze. By documenting these communities strictly as primitive subjects, Worcester created a visual argument that they required American governance. Today, the Talaandig are actively overturning this colonial gaze. By mapping their spoken epic directly onto these century-old photographs and the physical landscape of Mindanao itself, they are demonstrating that their spoken history is grounded in geographical and historical fact. Performing the Ulaging is a sacred ritual. Before reciting the history of Agyu, chanters perform a preparatory rite known as the Paulin. This invokes the Mulanulan, spirit teachers who guide the chanter through the complex verses of their ancestral lineage. The core narrative of the epic is rooted in historical trauma. Agyu and his clan are living peacefully in the prosperous lands of Cagayan until Spanish invaders arrive and forcibly subjugate the population. Rather than submit to forced labor within early missionary settlements, the community makes a definitive choice. Agyu leads his people in a daring exodus away from the coast and deep into the mountainous wilderness. This flight maps directly onto the real-world geography of Mindanao. The epic describes a perilous raft journey downriver, navigating rapids and swift currents to escape pursuing forces. Those waters correspond to the winding routes of the upper Pulangi River system. The epic meticulously documents the realities of their survival. Specific stanzas recount the physical toll of retreating into the primary forests of the Mount Palaopao range, where Agyu and his kin gathered wild beeswax and foraged along steep ravines. To the Talaandig, the landscape itself is a living archive. Every rushing rapid and deep forest grove provides physical evidence, validating the specific stanzas of an ancestral trauma that their people survived. The fleeing clan eventually reaches a critical turning point. Instead of running indefinitely, they decide to make a stand. They construct a massive mountain fortification, or kuta, leveraging the terrain to repel the colonial invaders. In the epic, this stronghold is known as Mount Ilian. In the physical geography of Bukidnon, it corresponds to Mount Palaopao. The rocky limestone cliffs rising sharply above the jungle demonstrate the strategic military brilliance of this natural fortress. The landscape also holds the spiritual milestones of the epic. The Valley of Sayawan is remembered as the site where a pivotal character named Mungan experienced a miraculous recovery and spiritual transformation, ultimately ascending to the sky world. The authority of these high-status figures is worn as much as it is spoken. Traditional garments and intricate geometric beadwork act as cultural signifiers, defining Talaandig identity and invoking ancestral protection. These textiles utilize red as a primary color to signal bravery and prestige. Embedded within these beads is the binuntod, or mountain motif. This specific pattern directly links the wearer to the mountainous domain of central Mindanao and the peaks their ancestors defended. These garments function as wearable history books. They physically anchor the wearer's body to the heroism and geography detailed in the Ulaging. At the conclusion of the epic, the clan establishes Nalandangan, a promised land of peace. While Nalandangan serves as a destination in the story, the community uses the location as an active metaphor for their continued survival and prosperity today. Within the community, the Ulaging operates as a binding constitution. It provides the definitive source for their adat, or customary law. This legal framework rests on 3 pillars: Agpangan, the ethical standard of right from wrong; Gantangan, the principle of fair distribution; and Timbangan, the need for balance. When disputes arise, the community uses these principles to negotiate settlements and restore equilibrium. The epic is a sophisticated, living legal document that actively governs and preserves order in the present day. Colonial photographs used an anthropological gaze to strip indigenous people of their history, framing them merely as contrasts to American uniforms. However, digital repatriation initiatives return these archives to descendant communities. Examining these negatives, elders identify specific ancestors and traditional regalia mentioned in the Ulaging. By actively mapping their oral history onto their ancestral mountains and these repatriated photographs, the Talaandig have reclaimed the narrative, transforming imperial propaganda into visual proof of their epic. This history is etched into the sheer cliffs, woven into the threads of traditional clothing, and sung into the night sky. If you found this journey into the living archives insightful, please subscribe and like the video, and hit the notification bell for more explorations into the histories all around us.